to the corner.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this Municipal Space Study Public Forum. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks, Rocco.
Thank you, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, there's no wheels.
Wheels fell off.
Okay, we all have some blues.
I have to note that in accordance with Mass General Law, we are recording this meeting for the Selectmen's office, and East Long Meadow Cable Access is also recording it, and I have to ask if anyone else in the audience is recording it. I don't see anybody else, so we can proceed. Good evening and welcome, and thank you for coming in. As you know, about a month and a half ago, we had the first meeting in regard to the space study that had been done, and we went over in detail the process and how we came to where we are today. And tonight, I'm going to give a brief overview. We're not going to go through the whole slideshow again. You're welcome. And after that, you'll feel free to ask any questions. I'll introduce the panel up here, and then you can, when we get to the question part, you can direct your questions to the person you think may answer your question the best. Up here we have Ryan Quimby from the IT department, Bruce Fenney from DPW, Selectman Angela Thorpe, myself, Selectman Paul Federici, Selectman Deb Baranski, Rocco Carabetta of Capital Planning.
Capital Planning Appropriations.
Okay, and Myron Hatchett of Reinhardt Associates, the company that put together the space study. What I'm going to do now is briefly go over the needs, which was the beginning of that last meeting, and then we're going to skip right to the overview of this proposal, and then you feel free to ask any questions. As we discussed before, it became a question of why do we need more municipal space? The IT department has 6 staff located in an office designed for one person, serving an additional 3,200 end users. There's a lack of ability to hold confidential meetings and discuss sensitive matters. There's no secure storage for expensive technology. There's multiple safety issues regarding egress and congestion, and there's a need to pass through secure server room to access the office. The building department, there's lack of file storage. Inspectors and support staff are in separate offices. Electrical and plumbing inspectors congest the selectman's office. There's nowhere to locate the addition of a full-time support person. Archive storage. It's located in 1892 town hall basement that is prone to flooding. Storage is at maximum capacity, and it's unreliable due to environmental fluctuations. Accounting. Office space inefficiently designed. Town accountant's office is in a hallway/closet and subject to constant interruptions. Anticipated human resources department. There's no office space available. HR department will consist of possibly 2 employees. There's a need for centralized confidential personnel file storage and office space to have confidential conversations. And as you know, we had space studies. The timeline is we had the first study in 2000, second study in 2003, third study in 2010, the fourth study in 2011, the fifth study in 2012, and the sixth study in 2013. Reinhardt Associates was chosen by the Design Select Committee to do this space study, and the space study examined 9 municipal buildings for utilization and maintenance needs. The proposal was designed to address critical space needs and provide the town with a plan to accommodate future growth. The plan that was proposed, the proposed plan is a multi-phased approach which first addresses the critical need for adequate municipal space and provides time until the second phase. The first phase for the selected proposal is to renovate the old fire department on Shaker Road and make office space for the IT department. Once the IT department has vacated their current office space, then minor town hall renovations can take place. Those include interior renovations to move the town accountant's office, relocate benefits administration, relocate and renovate space for the inspector's office. Phase 2 will address the need for additional resident services due to community growth by planning in addition to town hall. That's basically where we stand right now. hopefully you've all had a chance to at least review the plan in full. And I guess now, unless someone has any comments to make up here, I'd like to open it up to you folks and see what your concerns are, and hopefully we can get a lot of the questions answered. Marty?
I have a couple questions, comments. As the chairman of the board of assessors, we're coming up to one of the highest tax increases in the history of the town. And some people are aware of that, some people are not. At some point, we'll have to pay for this. So on that note, I highly recommend not having this project at all, and would hope that the three selectmen will pull it out of the warrant coming up. Secondly, I'm a real estate appraiser, so I'm in every town hall. The majority of the town halls in towns, the DPW is not in the town hall. Not all of them, but a high majority, separate location. So I guess there was a study that you can't put them on site on Summers Road. I understand that, but I think DPW should be removed from the town hall, town accountant moved upstairs, and then you'll get plenty of area to move everyone around. And an overall suggestion, I know a late one, is put a nice modular building right where the bocce courts are for the DPW, one level. Trucks have access to that, the other trucks, small trucks, large trucks, 1 story, lot cheaper, high-end modular, go green with that. And with that note about removing DPW, I mean, that's just a suggestion, but in the meantime, visiting the DPW, they took over 1,800 stickers, and this is a different note for the dump. Can we please remove that to the first floor to maybe the town clerk to take that? For the seniors to go up there, second floor, not having the registration or money, going all the way back to the furthest location in the parking lot. So in the meantime, not doing anything else, could someone start that process of putting the dump sticker somewhere else?
Okay, thanks for your input. Now, you were talking about putting a modular building here,
Sure, plenty of room back there.
but have you done a study of, this is a very active building during the day and at night, and I would hate to see something happen because you've got trucks coming through here when, especially at lunchtime, this parking lot can be full.
It
So
is full.
I-
No study, but there was room to go back to this and, I mean, just
Okay.
something to throw out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I just want,
DPW, like I said, in other town halls, they're not in the town hall.
Right.
In other towns, and they should be on floor number 1 anyway, but not there.
thank you. Yes, sir. Eric?
A couple questions, Paul. I'm assuming this recommendation that you're kind of putting up there tonight is after reviewing all the plans that were done to make this use. You have A, a price tag for that, and B, overall, for the entire project, and then B, how long will it serve the town? How long do you anticipate it will serve the town?
That's, we'll get that answer. That's above my pay grade, but I don't know if Bruce or Ryan or Myron.
Yeah, there was a price tag for the entire project. First of all, in the first phase of moving the DPW, the IT department,
Like 164,000, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
64, 67, I thought.
160 grand.
160,000 was to renovate the old fire station, which is basically redoing the entire thing, new HVAC system, insulating the building, newer lighting,
That's not counting the 30,000.
and
That's
bringing in a higher service to service their equipment. That was the phase 1. And the phase 2, to renovate and do an addition to the town hall, was 2.7 million.
And is that what you're proposing tonight, is the renovation to the town hall, the addition to the town hall?
Well, we're trying to start with phase 1, to start with. Obviously, what we're doing is we're trying to bring a proposal forward for the town to vote on. This seems to be, we've been in fits and starts for 13 years, so it'd be nice to at least, we've got a proposal. Obviously, this is the one that we've had the 2 meetings on, so it is something that we've considered, but the final decision is with the townspeople. I know we want to get, at the very least, to ease some construction, to ease some space problems. We would like to get phase 1 in the works. I don't speak for the board, I don't speak for these gentlemen, but I don't know if we necessarily go for the whole thing all at once. The whole idea is to do it in phases. So I guess, I guess that's where,
Do you
that's.
want this board
where-
member to speak?
Sure.
I've only been here for 6 months and wasn't privileged to be part of the other 5 studies, but I find it ridiculous that we've paid for now 6 studies and done nothing. And again, I don't have years of experience, as many of you in the audience, but I think that we should move forward with a proposal to take care of the needs that we have as a town that have been identified in all 6 studies for all of these years. We've had a study, we put it on the shelf, we've done nothing. We had another study, we've paid for all of these studies. Every study is telling us that we have space challenges and needs. And for us to table yet another study just doesn't make sense to me, and that's just this select person's opinion only.
You're bringing it right where I was going. I agree. I agree that what was brought to town meeting was to hire an outside, uninterested professional whose job this is to look at our needs, look at our available resources, and to try to make some recommendations. I think they've done that. I suspect they've done that. It looks like they've done that. I, as a resident, as well as a member of the Capital Planning and Appropriations Committee, now looking to the town leadership to say, decide on a plan, in a timeline, so that we can then get it and say, all right, let's then develop a funding mechanism for it that can be brought to the townsfolk to say yes or no on a whole plan. I'm confused tonight as to, is there an overall plan or is there not, and if there is, what's the total cost? As a member of the Capital Planning Committee and the Appropriations Committee, I don't know what direction to go in on this.
So the total cost looks to be a little more than $3 million with Phase 1 and Phase 2.
Okay, so from that plan then, am I to drive from that the board is making a recommendation of an addition to town hall?
Ultimately, if that's, that's what the, did I speak? I was gonna say, that's what the study has, has come up with. Now, it's funny because since then, I've had many people approach me and say, well, why don't you do this, why don't you do this, why don't you do this, but it was never, nothing was really, maybe not presented during the course of this process. All of which are viable ideas, but once again, I don't want to just ditch this, to go off in another direction and then find out that doesn't work. So I would say, obviously, we would not go, once again, this is my opinion, is we would not go to town meeting, obviously, in September looking for this whole project. At the very least, we would like to get the townspeople comfortable enough to go through Phase 1. And then we could discuss, with capital planning and with appropriations, the process to get this formalized for, say, the May town meeting.
May I?
Sure.
These public forums, my understanding was so that the public could come and ask questions and get a better understanding of what was to happen and for us to receive input on what you had to say about it.
But ultimately, we have to make a recommendation.
Right.
Right. But it's
Are all
not gonna
three
be
of you
today.
on board for this? Are all 3 of you on board for this?
Go rid of it down.
Feel free to,
I am in support of moving forward.
I am also.
Angela?
I'm not sold either way. I'm collecting information because, as you know, I'm new on the board and I'm just collecting a lot of information.
The last part of my question was never answered. Do you have an estimate how long that addition would last and you would expect that would serve the town?
The way we've looked at the population growth that's been trending in the town is for the next 10 to 15 years.
Okay, so 10 to 15 years.
Trying to go, I know it was either Chris or Mr. Hilton. Chris, go ahead, Chris. Ladies before gentlemen.
I noticed in the beginning of this presentation that you made available to us this evening, that you mentioned the establishment of the Human Resources Office with an administrative assistant. Where in this plan is the office for that person? Because I have gone over that and I see no space allocation for a human resources person with a additional support person? That would be my first question
Okay.
to you. My second is more of a statement. It doesn't really matter how many studies have been done. In 2003, we didn't have an IT department. We didn't have additional personnel that's been added over the past 10 years, mostly to departments under the jurisdiction of the boards of selectmen. So, you know, in a sense, past boards of selectmen and the growth of the town have contributed to this problem. So is this, the fact that we have a study is great. It gave us an idea where our needs are and where we should go. But is playing musical offices in the town hall the best solution for the town? Are we being short-sighted at what the town will need 10 years from now? Are we just stalling the expenditure of money? Now, I'd like to call to your attention that there are 2 buildings in the industrial park that are for sale right at the price tag of this project. Granted, they would have to be retrofitted, but they would be easy access. They would offer parking. Everything would be on the first floor, so it would accommodate handicap accessibility. So these are my comments, and I'm saying them as a taxpayer. I've been in this town 49 years. I'm saying it as a taxpayer. I've seen us be short-sighted before, and we have spent money. We've just spent money for renovations in town hall, where new counter spaces have been put, both in the collector's office and our office. Granted, they may be able to be dismantled and moved elsewhere, but I think there are a lot of HVAC issues and so forth. I went down and visited the town hall today, specifically looking at the space that will affect our office. And it was unclear to me, I had to ask Brian a question coming in here tonight, what the space would be. And I'm concerned about the electric power because of all the equipment that we need. I'm concerned about the conference room. Now I'm talking as an assessor. But that fact beside, my most important concerns is this really the best solution? I don't want to impede on the public trust that we all have to make a good decision for the town. And I don't want to just accommodate a few people when we could possibly solve problems that would at least last a generation or two.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, but, I mean, is it the best solution? Obviously, we hired an independent person to, to review all 9 buildings.
Yep.
I couldn't tell you, I'm not an engineer, I couldn't tell you what the best solution is or not, so we have to rely on who we hire, and the input that they've given is this is the result of it, so,
Usually when we hire someone to do something like this, they have parameters wherein what to work with. And so I'm saying if the study was confined to working within what we have now and making it more workable, then it's a solution for that particular instance. It's not an overall solution to address all of the town's needs.
Okay.
Did you want to say something?
Oh, I'm sorry.
To answer part of your question,
Sorry.
we
That's
were
a
only
question.
charged with looking at just the town-owned buildings, not other properties throughout the town, which in certain respects may have been a little unfortunate, but that was the charge of this particular study, to see if other town facilities may accommodate, first of all, what type of facility they are, what kind of shape they're in, and could they accommodate possibly other departments, possibly moving out of town hall. And what we end up finding out that most of the other facilities were already taxed and crowded. So again, the emphasis went back to town hall. And also to answer your first question, the human resource department didn't exist. There was a conversation that it might come in the future. We do have some room in the Selectmen's area that could accommodate a couple of more offices, but it does not, at this point, was reflected in this particular plan.
Thank you.
Mr. Hilbert?
I have some observations that I made looking through this ream of paper, and they both relate to unproductive space. Not people, space. I don't want you to be mad at me for saying this. Now, we have a lot of space dedicated to people coming in to be waited on or taken care of. We have about 20 spaces designated for that in the charts that I have. We have 30 to 14 conference rooms space dedicated to departments. We have meeting rooms to 74 people in this plan. These spaces are used infrequently. It's not an 8-hour day in the conference room. It's an occasional use of that. To my mind comes the idea of a shared conference room program of some sort. That's up to these people here to decide how to do that. The second area of non-productivity is that of storage of records. And I have a question. Has anyone looked at other municipalities who may have software and hardware packages that can eliminate the need of all of this paper storage that's taking up all of these properties of ours? I know there are legal questions, but I know there are equipment answers. And I'm wondering if we have been able to get a report on that type of waste of space.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't want to put you on the spot, Chris, but you were shaking your head.
Well, electronic and digital recordings of our records are not accepted by law, and we have to keep the paper records, we have to keep the property record cards, we have to keep the maps. All of those things it's stipulated by mass law as far as our records. And I believe, don't want to speak for the town collector, but I believe he has to keep the paper records also, death certificates, birth certificates, whatever type of critical records that he handles have to be kept. So that storage is of major importance.
As the law is right now, it has to be paper or microfiche.
Yes, yeah, and if that was the case, we'd have to microfiche every document that we've had today and prior years and store them off-site.
I recognize the statement that has been made, and I can appreciate the rules and regulations that go with record storage. And the question is records availability. Now, does that mean we have to have cases and cases of records available right at the moment someone wants them, or do we make an appointment and say, we'll get them for you from another source? I don't know what the square foot value is of the town hall or any of the municipal buildings, but if we related the square foot cost of storing boxes of records to $1 that says we're spending thousands of dollars on record storage space at a high cost versus having a secondary area where we can manage all of our records and have it done in a manner that made it possible to meet the laws, but also to be able to have a retrieval program that's not as acceptable to the person walking in the door that wants it right now, but we have to look at the cost of running our business. And I'm afraid I'm an old-fashioned guy, but I think a lot of times government will spend the money as long as they got it. They'll spend it before they get it and after they get it. So I'm just very cautious, very consensus to making our value related to the productivity of the departments. I don't want to hurt them at all, but I want to control the cost of running our town.
Ryan, how feasible is it to have, like, if you had records on microfiche? What's the
I
term?
wouldn't recommend investing the money in that. I feel that the law will be changing shortly where we can digitize the records in some sort of system.
We can help with
Or
that.
implementing a system that can handle it now, just there will be an upgrade cost.
Okay, thank you. Jean, you had your hand up first.
Yes, a question on phase one, going back to phase one. There are 6 employees in the IT department, plus people who have to come in to deliver parts, pick up parts, so on. People who have to come down and get their computers, bring the computers in and be fixed. What is the parking situation at that building?
There's plenty of parking over at the old fire station.
He said there's plenty.
Yes.
Where do you park?
There's a parking lot just to the, just adjacent to the building.
Right.
There is plenty of
That's
parking for
municipal
the
lot, right?
staff.
Yeah. Where
That municipal
Boston
Yeah.
Chicken is? that whole
Next to
big lot.
Boston Market, I believe that's municipal parking. isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is municipal
Right.
parking, it's not chicken parking.
It's not,
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Bill Johnston. I've been on the Board of Assessors since April of '89, and a lot's changed since then. Our space is considerably improved over what it was at that time, although our total space is what it was. You look at the changes, there have been a lot of them, but the really big change is the size of the computer department and taking place between us and the Selectmen's office. And that is by far the most important and should be the highest priority. A lot of the stuff, might be reconsidered, but the IT department going from 0 to 5 plus all those servers is a massive change, which kind of thing you have to accommodate every 25 years or so.
Right, right.
Thank you.
And it's true with the accounting department too, because unfortunately our town accountant, effectively is in a closet, so.
Yeah,
That's
he
a,
really is.
I give him credit for working in that confined space, I'll say. So, and also the IT department in their space. Ralph?
A couple questions. First, phase 2 or phase 3, the addition. What's the total square footage of the addition that we're looking at?
There,
6,200, I think.
very good.
no, the addition is only,
Rocco,
it's
that's what you said.
there's 2 additions proposed, one on the south side is 1,678 square feet, and the one on the north side is 350. So the one on the north side is very small.
So you'd be looking roughly 2,000 square foot as addition.
Yes.
Does that include the fire department?
No,
building?
that's town hall.
No, that's just the
Right.
addition of town hall.
Well,
Correct.
my question goes back to the municipal studies that you've given us in the year 2000, it was calculated that we were going to need 6,760 additional square feet. Obviously, we have more employees now, we have the IT department and everything. Fast forward 13 years, how is it now that we only need an additional 2,000 square feet? 13 years ago, they were saying we were going to need 7,000.
How much is the fire
Part-
department?
Part of the answer to your question is, we're also moving the IT department out of town hall, which also is
Opens it up.
giving us more space. And the plan is reflecting renovating the town hall to reallocate space more efficiently. So we didn't have to build the building as big as it might have been thought in the past, whereas we were trying to relocate and reallocate different spaces to make it work more efficiently.
With all due respect, it sounds like to me, right now, we need that additional 2,000 square feet. But looking out 10 years, I'm guessing we're gonna need another 6,000 to 7,000 square feet. And I think
9,600.
for the cost of
Imagine that.
$3 million that we're looking at right now, it's well above where we should be. The last meeting, I spoke and I said, we are in need of a new town hall. And I was told $30 to $40 million is out of the question, and I absolutely agree. So I went online and did a little bit of research. The town of Munson is currently building a brand new town hall and police station, 26,000 square feet for $10.3 million. The town of Dracut is building a 20,000 square foot building for $8 million. Us to spend nearly half of what it would cost for a brand new facility, I don't think it's a wise use of the money. I still believe the town needs a new town hall, more space, look to the future, do it now, because in 10 years, we're gonna be in the same spot we are, saying, geez, we could add another 2,000 square feet for another 3 million, 5 million. Another thing we need to look at is if we add on to town hall, where's the additional parking spaces gonna go? That's not something that can be waived. The government building is still required under zoning to meet all zoning requirements. So does that mean we're gonna end up having to purchase additional properties in the area to meet our parking needs?
Yeah. that is one question that I know Rocco brought up at one of our
Yep.
meetings.
Right.
Had that been addressed when, as far as parking spaces, when the,
Yeah, that is true, but when we did go through the zoning ordinance, there is one line that does allow the zoning board to waive that parking requirement in the event of a special circumstance.
Okay.
So again, that would be the only road that could be going down to increase the parking. If you increase the size of the square footage, you're supposed to increase the parking.
And the problem that we have right now is the parking facility for this size building is already taxed currently. Between the library and the building, now all of a sudden you're adding, hopefully.
Are we adding employees?
well,
We're not adding employees,
but
we're taking
in this
employees away.
scenario,
It's not the number of people.
Right.
I know, I
But
realize
that's-
that's not, I realize the parking situation theoretically goes by size of the building.
Mhm.
But if you look at this scenario, we've got X number of employees in town hall. We're taking 6 out and putting them in the other building. So now we're down 6. Even if we add, even if we're fortunate enough to get an HR person and support staff, that's 2. So I realize, once again, that it's based on square footage and not people in the building, but in our situation, we'd actually be 4 people short of what we have now, even after we expanded. So from a personnel, from a employee standard, we're not using any more parking spaces.
You can't look at a study that way.
I know,
You just can't.
I know. I try to look at things logically, but that doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah. Why is it terrible?
You apply that to any other business in town and they would be laughed at, waive my parking, I'm gonna have less personnel for, double the size of the building.
So in other words, a logical look at it is ridiculous, I guess, in that case. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Comment?
Comment?
Yeah, just an encouragement to the board to, well, 2 things. One, I'm kind of hearing here that there seems to be a flavor for, not just this gentleman, but other speakers for you gentlemen.
Mhm.
Maybe before final decisions, maybe that should be examined. Because I will agree, it does seem like 2.7 million to gain 2,000 square feet.
Mhm.
How many square
Well, I'm
feet
not
is the
afraid
fire
to spend
station?
2.7 million on
How
solar
many square
issues.
feet is the fire station?
But I also agree with,
How many square feet is the
Mr.
fire
Einstein
station?
that,
400 maybe?
Right, right.
Well, I would
Or
endorse
maybe it's more than that.
whatever plan
1,000.
the select board comes up with.
Yeah,
What
it's
only
not-
ask
it's
is
not
maybe
big.
we look at for dollar,
have
maybe a new facility is the right
It
thing.
can't be
Okay, and
more
we've
than
also
1,000
been, I've been approached about, there's another building for sale on North Main Street, that,
It's 30,
commercial
40,
building,
it's 900.
that might also fit the bill, so it's all these little ideas are coming up, so obviously,
We need to do something.
you gotta take, you don't wanna delay it anymore, but you wanna make sure that we've looked at all options, which,
Okay.
I wish all the other options had come up before we did the study, but that's not the way life is sometimes, so. But in any event, we will take everything into consideration. We won't just jump into one, before we look at the options. Jean?
A comment. When you look at the archive records subject to harsh environmental conditions, don't forget to add in the ones that have been moved to the basement of the Little Red Schoolhouse, which is also subject to harsh environmental conditions, maybe flooding.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know what they are, they're just these boxes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
They are the law
Okay.
books that used to be in the town clerk's office that were available to any department that needed to look up a certain chapter or section of the law.
There's more than that now.
There probably is.
Are they
So I
online
have no
at this
idea what's
point in
in
the
the other
world?
boxes.
Oh, okay.
I knew about the, I known about those, but there were more boxes.
Yeah.
So either you got more law books or somebody else said, hey, that's a great idea, and piggyback.
And probably a lot of that information is online now, so you probably don't even have to research them, so. Yes, sir.
My name's Sean Koff, I'm the former treasurer of JC's,
Mhm.
and I'd just like to know what your current understanding and impressions are of the use of the building that you'd like to take for the IT department.
And I'm just going from, I know the J.C.'s have used that building for a number of years. And I know, from what we've heard, I don't know how much you're actually using it now. I know there's a few a few functions that go on there, but as far as, you know, actual usage, you could probably fill me in better than, you know, because we've heard different things, so.
Yeah, and that's why I asked the question in that
Mhm.
way, because I sort of felt as though the way it was worded in the documentation that we had was somewhat misleading, maybe a mischaracterization of the use of the building. You know, I'm a former JC, so I'm not currently JC. I can speak to how I use the building, how we use the building when I was there.
Yep.
It was much more than just occasional use.
Right.
It's essential in my opinion for a number of reasons, not just physically, I think emotionally for the club to continue operations. It's a place to meet, gather, have those private conversations, the contract negotiations with all the different people that are involved with the carnival, the fireworks. We use it for storage in between meetings, fishing derby, all the stuff goes inside there, signage, prizes, everything goes in there. So at various parts of the year, its use changes,
Mhm.
back and forth between storage and full use for meetings. It was my hope that some of the guys that are part of the club now would bring some new blood in and start with some of the ideas that I have that I can't officially go in. I've aged out. I've written to the United States level and asked them to change the age level. And they've said, no, 41, you're out. That's it. So I can't go back in. I'm trying to push these ideas. I'd like to see the building used a lot more. On an emotional level, I think if the building were gone, that the club is most likely to just fold up and go. And to see the loss of the carnival, the loss of the fishing derby, would be devastating.
And I know, thank you for your comments. I know, you don't, Bruce, I know that building's fallen into certain disrepair.
Yeah, the roof is in dire needs of repair. The timbers and stuff for the roof are deteriorating. The parapet walls around the upper side of the roof are actually falling down almost. So it's in pretty bad shape. If we don't do something with it soon, it's going to be probably unfixable.
Right.
So we need to move on something with that building.
If I'm not mistaken, though, I think an opportunity exists to use funding from the open space to fix those, address those issues that you speak of. If I'm not mistaken, perhaps 100% of the funding to fix that building could come from those funds. And that is already being paid for by the tax people. And it wouldn't be an additional cost to involve.
Thank you. Ralph?
Just to follow up on the JC's building, $30,000 was already allocated out of community preservation almost 2 years ago for the roof to be done. 2 years later, with the money sitting there, it still hasn't been done. I'm not sure what the holdup is. I'm not sure why it hasn't been done. But obviously, you know as well as I do, the longer it leaks and all, the worse it gets. Money's already been approved at town meeting.
Thanks, Ralph. I actually don't remember that. I'm trying to think back to when it was approved. I don't know if, was it, you said 2 years?
It's going on 2 years now.
And I'll have to follow up as to why nothing was done.
Well, we didn't use the money because the study was going on, so we didn't want to do the repairs until the study was complete to see what was going to be the outcome of that building.
Thanks, Bruce. Any other questions or comments? Thank you all. Thank you all for your input. That's what we were looking for. And I appreciate all of you being here. I wish it was a bigger crowd, but such is life.
Bigger than the last one.
It is bigger than the last one. That's because we got the department heads here. But anyways, and as you know, as time progresses, anyone has anything they want to add or any other ideas, feel free to contact myself or any of the board members.
Please.
You know, we'll take everything into consideration, and we will proceed from here. And I thank you all for your input once again, and everyone have a good evening.
Thank you.
I have a question
Thank
before you adjourn.
Oh.
Never mind.
What's the plan of the Board of Selectmen now?
We're gonna have,
Excuse me, the meeting's still,
oops, sorry.
just one moment.
We're gonna have to, assess what's been spoken about here and
I-
obviously see how we're gonna progress.
Do you have any calendar?
Not right at this moment.
Okay.
Obviously, we're, depending on what we do
We need to put a
with
plan
phase one,
together.
if we're gonna do something, we have to do it, that part soon
Right,
because of,
I've had a issue going.
Yeah,
all right. Thanks, Rob.
yes.
Oh, you, it's your job.
All set?